Hello Internet, Andrew Potter back again with another reading of Life of Pi by Jan Martel. Today we will be reading chapters 9 and 10, as I looked forward and saw that they're pretty short, so we should be able to get through that, and I didn't want another half-hour video like my last one on My Immortal, which went on for a while. If you haven't seen those yet, feel free to check them out. But yeah, I'm happy to be back to Life of Pi, as it doesn't melt my brain like the My Immortal book has been doing so far. So let's just get right into it. Chapter 9. Getting animals used to the presence of humans is at the heart of the art and science of zookeeping. The key aim is to diminish an animal's flight distance, which is the minimum distance at which an animal wants to keep a perceived enemy. A flamingo in the wild won't mind if you stay more than 300 yards away. Cross that limit and it becomes tense. Get even closer and you trigger a flight reaction from which the bird will not cease until the 300-yard limit is set again, or until heart and lungs fail. Okay, that's cool. I didn't ever think of animals having that, but that makes sense that they would have like a set distance that they want to keep their perceived predator away from them. Different animals have different flight distances and they gauge them in different ways. Cats look, deer listen, bears smell. Giraffe will allow you to come within 30 yards of them if you are in a motor car, but will run if you are 150 yards away on foot. Fiddler crabs scurry when you're 10 yards away. Howler monkeys stir in their branches when you're at 20. African buffaloes react at 75. Our tools for diminishing flight distance are the knowledge we have of an animal, the food, the shelter we provide, the protection we afford. When it works, the result is an emotionally stable, stress-free wild animal that not only stays put, but is healthy, lives a very long time, eats without fuss, behaves and socializes in natural ways, and, the best sign, reproduces. I won't say that our zoo, compared to the zoos of San Diego or Toronto or Berlin or Singapore, but if you can't keep a good zookeeper down. Father was a natural. He made up for a lack of formal training with an intuitive gift and a keen eye. He had a knack for looking at an animal and guessing what was on its mind. He was attentive of his charges, and they, in return, multiplied some to excess. Oh, I mean, that's great. Sorry, my throat's just not feeling well today. Yeah, that was a good short chapter. I think it didn't really add anything, but it didn't really take anything away. It wasn't a bad chapter. Just wasn't one of the great ones that we've been hitting lately. Chapter 10. Yet there will always be animals that seek to escape from zoos. Animals that are kept in unsuitable enclosures are the most obvious example. Every animal has a particular habitat that must be met. If its enclosure is too sunny or too wet or too empty, if its perch is too high or too exposed, if the ground is too sandy, if there are too few branches to make a nest, if the food trough is too low, if there is not enough mud to wallow in, and so many other ifs, then the animal will not be at peace. It is not so much a question of constructing an imitation of conditions in the wild as of getting the essence of these conditions. Everything in an enclosure must be just right. In other words, within the limit of the animal's capacity to adapt. A plague upon bad zoos with bad closures. They bring all zoos into disrepute. Wild animals that are captured when they are fully mature are another example of escape-prone animals. Often they are too set in their ways to reconstruct their subjective worlds and adapt to a new environment. That makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, it's like the kids that, I wasn't one because I'm a military brat, but it's like kids who have always grown up in the same house or same, community kind of thing. And then when they go off to college, I hear they have a much harder time than people like me, who I was like, I've been moving around my whole life. I kind of know how to move to new places kind of thing. Like, that makes sense. The reason I also make lots of comparisons to animals in this book to like how humans react is because essentially we are animals. We are mammals. We're just You know, a lot of people like to say, oh, we're not animals, we're above that kind of thing, we're humans kind of thing. No, I don't think so. I think we're animals. I mean, maybe that's my negative view on things, my pessimism. But no, I like to think we're just animals. We're just animals with these, and a more complex language, I should say, a more recognizable language. I think all animals have language. You know, it's little things, you know, marking their territory, things like that. We have just a more complex and more easily recognizable language because we can immediately make the sounds that portray the meaning. Most other animals have a very limited vocal language that they can use. You know, like growling when they're angry. We can, you know, not only say I'm angry, but we can also say I'm angry because, and then fill it in. So, but yeah, I'm gonna make lots of comparisons of like, oh, that makes sense. Animals doing this because we do this kind of thing. Because I don't have such a great knowledge of animals, like a zoology degree or anything like that. But I do have a psych minor, so I can, you know, recognize certain things in humans, and, you know, I interact with them far more than I want to, but I do interact with them, so I can definitely recognize certain things. But even animals that were bred in zoos and have never known the wild, that are perfectly adapted to their enclosures and feel no tension in the presence of humans, will have moments of excitement that push them to seek to escape. All living things contain a measure of madness that moves them in strange, sometimes inexplicable ways. This madness can be saving. It is part and parcel of the ability to adapt. Without it, no species would survive. 100%, yeah. We need adaptability. If we don't adapt to things, then we won't survive. Whatever the reason for wanting to escape, sane or insane, zoo detractors should realize that animals don't escape to somewhere, but from something. Something within their territory has frightened them. The intrusion of an enemy, the assault of a dominant animal, a startling noise, and set off a flight reaction. The animal flees or tries to. I was surprised to read at the Toronto Zoo, a very fine zoo, I might add. The leopards can jump 18 feet straight up. That's crazy! I did not know that. Can jump 18 feet straight up? That's crazy. Like, I'm trying to even think, what is 18 feet? Like, that would be 18 feet, that's gotta be at least a story or two. Like a story or two of a building, so like, Jesus, and straight up, that's insane. Our leopard enclosure in Pondicherry had a wall 16 feet high at the back. I surmise that Rosie and Copycat never jumped out, not because of constitutional weakness, but simply because they had no reason to. Animals that escape go from the known into the unknown, and if there's one thing an animal hates above all else, it is the unknown. That's 100% true of, you know, wild animals and us humans, sophisticated animals. We hate the unknown. It's like, everyone likes to say like, oh no, we're scared of the dark. No, you're not scared of the dark. You're scared of what could happen in the dark. You're not scared of snakes. You're scared of what a snake could do. Like, it's that unknown factor that is what we're afraid of. It's not being able to perfectly rationalize a thing. It's not being able to completely understand a thing 100%. It's that little, I don't know, that's what you're afraid of. I 100% agree with that. Escaping animals usually hide in the very first place they find that gives them a sense of security, and they are dangerous only to those who happen to get between them and their reckoned safe spot. And that's the end of chapter 10. So yeah, again, honestly a little disappointed. They weren't great chapters, they weren't amazing, mind-blowing chapters, but they weren't bad. They weren't bad, by no means. Like, there wasn't anything in there that I'm like, oh, I don't like this. I liked all of it. It's explaining, it's these chapters so far, I think, are just setting up Pi and setting up his personality and his life and all of these things for us to get to know him. And I'm liking this. Again, it's not what I was expecting when I opened the book. I'm gonna probably keep saying that until I get to the part where I'm like, this is what I was expecting. This is what I've been waiting for. I'm liking all of it, though. I'm liking getting into those little moments of life, which weren't in those two chapters, which is why I didn't like it as much. Is It's setting up his character not through moments, but through him explaining things, which I guess is kind of, you know, it's explaining his rationality. He's a smart man. He's an educated man. He's explaining these are things that I know, and these are how animals react and sort of things. And I'm sure all of that is going to come into great. Is going to come into play when he's on the boat with the tiger when that happens. But yeah, I'm enjoying the story so far. I mean, these 2 chapters I said were a little disappointing, but it's not nearly as bad as My Immortal, not even close. And that's really all I've got to say, because there wasn't a lot to say about that chapter. I agree. Again, just a bit of my thinking in my life is just, I think we're animals, so I'm gonna keep up with those animal, like, oh yeah, we're just animals. Yeah, we're just more, we're, how do I say it? We're just animals of a higher sophistication, I guess. Or at least to our knowledge. The way we understand humans better than other animals because we're human. It'd be like gorillas trying to, like, if gorillas were the you know, the top most intelligent species, they would understand gorillas better than humans because they are gorillas. You know, a lot of their subtleties are, you know, well known to all of them. You know, but that's all I've got to say. Again, if you have any questions for me when I get to my grand finale, feel free to mention those below, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Have a good night.